When they hear the term homeschooling, many people automatically think of a child sitting at a table or a desk at home with a textbook in hand, reading and answering questions. But did you know that that's actually only one of the many different ways that people homeschool? Today, we're going to discuss 6 of the most popular homeschool styles, and in the process, hopefully help you decide which style might be the best fit for your family. All right, let's get started. Hi, my name is Emily and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I'm a homeschooling mama who taught at a private school for 5 years, and now I'm at home teaching my own 3 kiddos. You know, when we first look at homeschooling, I didn't realize how many styles and different methods there really were for homeschooling. At first, it can seem kind of overwhelming. There's so many different ways. That's why I wanted to make this video. I kind of wanted to highlight 6 of the most popular different methods and kind of tell you what goes into each method so that way you can decide for your family what would be the best fit. So the first style I'd like to talk about is the school at home, or also called the traditional method. This style of homeschooling is kind of what we already talked about. It's simply mirroring school at home. You're bringing the classroom to your house. This can be done by incorporating maybe a desk or even a kitchen table, a schoolroom or a schoolroom area. Sometimes the parents might set up a dry erase board or a chalkboard to help them teach. It's definitely very curriculum heavy. Normally there's a textbook or a workbook for each separate subject. And a lot of times whenever a parent they go to order the curriculum, they'll buy one boxed curriculum set. So they might go to one company and say, hey, I want everything that you have for 3rd grade. And so they usually buy it all from the same company. It's definitely the most structured out of all the methods that we're gonna discuss today. And a lot of times it bases its structure, again, on the local school system. So not only are you structuring your classroom like it is at the school, but even your daily schedule, how many hours you go to school, or you might go to your local school to get a calendar of all their holidays and when they take spring break and their days off. And a lot of times they coordinate their calendar with the calendar of the local school system. Frequent tests or quizzes are used to track your students' progress. You know, this is definitely the most recognizable and familiar type of method. And so that's why a lot of families tend to come to this type of method, is because it's familiarity. Maybe they just don't like the environment of their local school system, or maybe the content, but they like that structure. They're the ones that'll probably pick this method up. A lot of times homeschoolers will start this is the way they begin. At the beginning, because it's so familiar, until they kind of get their own routine and their own groove, and maybe they start changing things up, a lot of new homeschoolers tend to start with this type of method. The next method is the Charlotte Mason method. Now, this was developed by Charlotte Mason, who was a British educator in the late 1800s to early 1900s. She has been quoted to have said that education is an atmosphere, a discipline, a life. An atmosphere meaning that she believed that a child learns from their everyday environment. A discipline because the Charlotte Mason method strives to focus on creating good habits and good character. Things like diligence, obedience, attentiveness are all stressed in this method. And life, because she believed that the child should learn through living ideas and thoughts and living books, things that make the information come alive. Now, Charlotte Mason also wanted to give the child a feast of ideas. So there are so many different subjects that are covered in this method, and they spread them throughout the week. You don't do them all in one day, you spread them throughout the week. You can learn anything from knitting to Shakespeare to Bible to nature walks and exploration to picture studies to composer studies to a foreign language. And these subjects were taught through short, interesting lessons. She believed that a short lesson would give the child, it would teach them the character trait of attentiveness, so they could put all their attention on all their focus and their best effort on a short lesson for just a short amount of time. Now, this is very book-based. It's a lot of living books are used in the Charlotte Mason method. Living books, a lot of those are just narrative in nature, and they are books that are not just full of the dry facts, but they make the information come alive. They make the reader want to keep reading and keep learning more. And then there are no worksheets or tests or exams. How they know how much their child learned is after they read these books to them, they have their child narrate back to them or retell the story of what they remember back to them. They also learn history and science through living books. They can learn science through nature studies and going outside and exploring nature. They learn a lot of, picture studies and composer studies. They also have normally poetry and music is read out loud every day. They also have them memorize poetry and scripture. The Charlotte Mason method might be good for a family who is time pressed. Because the lessons are so short and the days are shorter, if you're wanting to spend less time homeschooling, this might be the method for you. Or maybe you're wanting to homeschool on a budget. Because this is basically based on living books, you don't have to go out and buy a bunch of worksheets or textbooks. You can go to the library or get ebooks, and it definitely makes it a little more budget friendly. The classical method is definitely considered one of the most prestigious styles of schooling. You see, this method has been known to produce many of our great thinkers of the past. Men like Aristotle, C.S. Lewis, Plato, Albert Einstein. These are men that came from a classical education. It's time-tested and has been around since the Middle Ages. The classical method has 3 different stages of learning. And so these 3 stages are known as the trivium. There's the grammar stage. And in this stage, they definitely focus on teaching the child concrete facts. And so things like your rules for grammar and for spelling and math and phonics are learned in this stage. There's a lot of memorization. And so they're able to learn their concrete facts and kind of get a good groundwork for the rest of their education. The second stage is known as the dialectic stage. And so it's more of the analytical thinking. They know that around this age, kids start asking why, and they wonder why things are the way they are. And so it's a lot of logical discussion. There's debate involved because children are now learning how to take the facts that they already know to be true and then to convert them into persuasive elements. And then finally, the third stage is the rhetoric stage. And this is where they teach children to take the facts that they've already learned and the logic that they've learned and use that to develop their own original thoughts and to speak with authority on what they believe. It's a language and literature focused style that gives them a core foundation in math, language arts, science, and history. They spend time in the classics of literature, and they are introduced and exposed to many people in the past that were great thinkers. They receive formal training in Latin, Greek, logic, and Western literature. The overall goal is to teach the child to be able to think for themselves. They want them to learn how to think, not necessarily what to think. It's good for families who want a time-tested method, or if you view logic and critical thinking strongly enough to want to focus a lot of time on those subjects. The unschooling method is largely based off of the work of John Holt, who was a homeschooling pioneer. This is the philosophy that parents should actually stay away from too much structure in their home and in their child's education, because they believe that real learning happens when the child is given freedom to pursue their own interests and what they truly enjoy. There's no set school schedule or no set formal curriculum. Simply, they encourage the child to really dig into what interests them through pretend play, through real life environments, through getting out into nature. Whatever they're interested in, they try to support that. The parent is more of a guide. They provide an environment that is great for learning. It would stimulate curiosity. They provide that environment for the child to be in, and then when they sit back and watch and they find out what their child is truly interested in, then they go and they offer books and resources and material to help that child learn more about what their interest is. This is to encourage them to love to learn. They don't want their child to learn because they have to. They want their child to learn because they want to. This type of learning allows the child to stay focused on whatever interests them at that particular moment. And a lot of People might even argue that unschooling isn't a homeschool style, it's actually a lifestyle. Many different resources can be used for this type of method because whatever they can use to encourage their child's interest in what they love is something that they're going to use as part of their schooling. Many people who use this form of learning want their child's learning to be child and interest led. And a lot of times they dislike the structure in the regular school system. Unit studies is a form of education where the parent chooses which topic they would like their children to learn about, a lot of times looking into what the child is interested in. They then take this one topic and one theme and they integrate it into all the other subjects, basing all the other school subjects off of this one topic. And they continue using that theme until it is completely and fully explored. Now, unit studies can be purchased or you can actually even make your own. There's so many different videos on YouTube and different articles that show you how you can compose your own unit study. Many unit studies try to find different forms and methods that they can use to help the child learn about that particular topic or theme to make it more interesting. They incorporate things like cooking or hands-on arts and crafts, games, living books, or notebooking, where they might take a 3-ring binder and they might include their essays and worksheets and drawings and just the experiences that they've had while learning about it. One example of a unit study written in a blog by the Home Educator was about farming. For that particular unit study, you could have a read aloud of Charlotte's Web. You could take a field trip to a petting zoo or a nearby farm. Maybe use construction paper to have the child make a shadow box of farm animals. Or maybe you could have them study how to classify each farm animal and what goes into that process. Learning about maybe how farm products are produced. These are different ways that you can use one subject about farming and break it off into all these different subjects. And there's so many different neat and interesting ways to do this. You see, they believe that this is the natural way of learning, to focus on one particular topic and to be able to put all your attention and effort into that one topic, rather than having to divide your interest into 5 or 6 different categories and topics for your subjects. It allows you to not just skim the surface of something, but you really get to dive deep into it. And they encourage, if a child asks a question about a particular topic while you're learning, then jot that down and explore that aspect as well. Unit studies are often used for families who have multiple children. The parent gets to teach all of their children about one topic or theme, and then each child gets to work and learn at their own particular level. And so it makes it easier on the parent because they aren't divided and thinking about all these different topics and subjects for each child. They get to talk about this one theme and teach all their children with only one topic in mind. And finally, we have the Eclectic Method. Now, this is a style that mixes and matches different curriculums and different resources to really create an individualized learning environment for your child. It's how you can tailor-make what you believe would be the best source of education for your child and their learning styles. And they kind of view it like a DIY buffet, where they go through and they look at each style and method, and they look at each curriculum, and they might choose a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and they really individualize their form of learning for their particular child. And so it might look something like using the classical approach for math and logic, or maybe the Charlotte Mason approach to memorize scriptures and read poetry and instill a love of nature outdoors. Maybe it's through using unit studies every once in a while to kind of break things up and to bring some excitement, or using an outside class for things like art. You know, there's different forms of doing this, but it's a way to not be tied down to one particular curriculum. They enjoy the freedom of being able to choose from what's around them to what they think would suit their child best. Eclectic homeschoolers believe that every child is unique and different, and there is no one curriculum or one style and method that is going to fit every child. This method of education might be good for families who have children with special giftings, where they excel in certain subjects, because you can really find that type of curriculum that would help them excel even more in what they already love. Or maybe you have a child with a disability or something where they're struggling. You can find a curriculum that best teaches them in the way that they learn to really help give them a confidence in that particular subject. It's also cost effective because you can pick and choose what you want your budget to look like since you're choosing from so many different curriculums. So in today's video, we've discussed 6 of the most popular homeschooling methods. And I hope that by kind of giving you a brief outline of each method, that it's given you some more information that you can use to pick and choose which one might be the best fit for your family. And I'm curious, did you hear one that kind of stood out more than the others? Maybe you already know which one might be a good fit for your homeschool. Or maybe you've homeschooled for years and you already have a tried and true method that you know and love and works great for your family. Would you put it down in the comments below? Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Would you like it and would you subscribe to my channel? That would be such an encouragement to me. And we'll see you next time. All right, bye.